Morning, everyone. Welcome to Rainmakers Roundup. I'm your host, Mark Iorio, and I have the pleasure of hanging out with my good friend Scott Needham again, Princeton Air President and CEO.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
You were here a long time ago.
Yeah.
The other studio.
2.5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, at your old place.
Yeah. So lots happened over the last couple of years. You guys have made some nice changes. The industry, Scott, has changed dramatically. Heating, venting, and air conditioning is not, the old sort of mechanical side of the business. Right. It's become much more technical. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, all those changes that you've made, and how the growth has come, and also want to talk about your dad because he started the business.
Yep. Yeah. Sure. So changes we've made have done a boatload of upgrades and changes with the business. So like internally, we were on a 25-year-old legacy software system, accounting package, field service automation, bumping along for 25 years. And with an old system like that, you have a lot of workarounds. Yeah. People that are doing so much more work around the perimeter of this program just to get the job done. Yeah. So that's out. We've got a state-of-the-art new operating system, both for accounting, internal, and automated on the field side as well.
Oh, great.
So that's been huge, and we're just now about 1.5 years into it, and we're really good at it now, so that's been fun.
Good.
The other thing is we were running out of space, so we created some space in our warehouse, moved out some of our old unused inventory, and created about 1,000 square foot of office space, conference room, 2 private offices, and 2 pit areas for some of the different line managers. So that was pretty cool.
Right.
And then, keep going. We put a whole new voice over IP phone system, and we're thinking about the new workforce, the younger people. Yeah. They don't want to walk into and work in a dated 1970s building. It needs to be a little more hip. Yeah. So we're slowly changing spaces in the building to affect that.
That's great.
Yep.
Now, there's been a lot of changes in the HVAC system, heating, venting, air conditioning, as well as large generators, right?
Yep.
Things like that over the last decade or so. Talk a little bit about the advances that have taken place in the industry and how Princeton Air has kept up with that. And sort of, in a lot of ways, Scott, you really have been ahead of the curve.
I think we have. Yeah. I remember 12, 13 years ago during the recession, we needed to figure out where the revenue stream could come from. Sure. We were, our industry was decimated, and everybody was having issues back then.
No kidding.
So that's the time that caused us to open our eyes. All right, what else is there out there? What can we do? How can we de-seasonalize our business? Because HVAC contractors ride the seasonal waves to, do what they need to do to conduct business. Yeah. So we've always been thinking about, all right, how do we de-seasonalize it? What products and services can we layer in that don't have a season attached to them? Yeah. One, back in the recession time frame, was insulation and air sealing. The state was giving huge rebates to people that would tighten up their homes and then upgrade the heating and air conditioning components inside those homes. People were getting big rebates and finance packages. Sure, yeah. We then got into, talk about dumb luck and timing, we started into the generator business, the whole house backup generator business. Yeah. And we became a dealer, a Kohler dealer, and we started putting a few systems in. And then Hurricane Sandy hit, and that business went through the roof. Everyone needed a backup generator. Yeah. Again, no season. A few years ago, we got into plumbing. We added a whole plumbing division, and that was no easy feat. You had to connect with a master plumber. That person had to be a 10% shareholder of the entity. You can't just become a plumber overnight. You have to do a lot of legal things to be in that business. Yeah. Again, no season to plumbing. Yeah. And geothermal, drilling 300-foot wells in people's yards to handle the heating and cooling loads associated with that. Yeah. So it's really all about thinking about what opportunities are out there in products and services and bringing them home and having our team implement them.
Yeah, and you said timing and good luck. It's way more than that. It's, I want to talk about your dad, Joe, who founded the business 40 plus years ago.
Yep.
And then you taking over, but it's really not just dumb luck, Scott. It's not really just, being there at the right time. It's thinking about those opportunities that are in front of you.
Yep.
And taking advantage of that. So it really is a testament to your thinking, Joe's thinking, and the staff, really. You've got a almost 50-person company. So there's a lot of great people there, a lot of good minds there, and I think you take advantage of that.
And, maybe I'm being a bit humble, but yeah, we do a lot of prep work. There's no doubt about the time that we put into hiring, recognizing, rewarding, understanding, the business, after all, is people.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't care what widgets we're providing, but it's all people-based.
I agree, yeah. Talk a little bit about your dad. I mean, he started the business a number of years ago, and it's grown into what it is. You got a great brand, great reputation.
Thank you.
And I think it's really cool that his son has taken over, and you've been running it for quite a number of years now.
I should think about it more often, how special that is. How a father and a son can work together for now. We were just talking about the other day, 33 years we've been together. Yeah. And not a lot of people get that opportunity.
Right.
I know you had an opportunity at some point in your career to work with your dad.
Yeah.
But it's amazing and fantastic. You talk about a role model and a leader.
Yeah.
There's so many things I've learned from him. But it's pretty cool. He's 86 years old, still comes into the office every day.
He looks great.
He calls it therapy. And we have a great relationship, and I anticipate him being there for many, many other years.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
we have a lot of fun.
That's very cool. Now, you and I talked about this really interesting point system that you have at Princeton Air. And a lot of it is, you talked about the people. There's a lot of great people in that organization. Talk a little bit about that in terms of the metrics of your business. A lot of times, Scott, you were looking at you're running a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're running a company. The thing that matters is you have to make a profit.
Yep.
So you're looking at the numbers at the end of the year, at the end of a quarter, or maybe at the end of a month. But now you've changed the way you think about that.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
So you're right. To your point, we would produce financials every month, and we would analyze them, get the leadership team together, put them up on the wall, talk about them, see where we missed our goals, see where we made them, trying to keep a handle on costs. And we decided a couple of years back that that's like looking in the rearview mirror. So what's done is done. There's no way we can affect that.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of ground to make up for the next month or the next quarter. So we've reduced that down to weekly scorecards. Every team, every meeting, there's a scorecard. Everybody's got their numbers. How did we do on customer acquisition this week? How many club memberships were sold? What revenue was produced in this business unit and that business unit? How many on our digital marketing side? How many click-throughs? How many form fills did we have?
Right.
So at the end of that week, when we have that meeting, we have the ability to say, all right, we missed it in these three categories. What are we going to do to make up next week to get, pick up the slack last week and hit our numbers again next week and cover ourselves?
Right.
So it's fun to watch how transformative that is. Everyone's much more engaged, and we're not looking at that financial sheet at the end of the month wondering what the hell happened.
Yeah. Not only that, too, you're that look back period where you said, look, we used to review our financials once a month. Now you do things weekly, and there's a much greater chance to make a course correction when you're doing things weekly than looking at it a month. Month's 4 weeks. I mean, 30 days have passed you by. It's a 12th of the year. And now you're doing things a lot differently.
Further to that, some of my teammates, we had a kind of a static year-round scorecard. We've modified that. Now we have seasonal scorecards.
Okay.
So we're just going to break out our spring scorecard metrics to, talk about next week. So we're flexing in those areas.
What drives you every day to get up in the morning, plant your feet on the floor when you get out of bed, Your wife is awesome, by the way, Michelle.
Thank you.
Right? You
Yep.
get out of bed in the morning and you go, I'm going to hit it today. What's that driving passion behind what you do, Scott?
When I think about it, it's really 5 kind of tenets that I always run through my head.
Yeah.
I do what I love. I'm doing it with the people I enjoy.
Yeah,
I get to make a difference in their lives.
absolutely. Sure.
I make a decent living,
Yeah.
all the while creating time for other passions. So I'm thinking about all those 5 buckets, and if I can consistently save time for myself to do what I love outside of the business,
Oh, yeah, sure.
passions and whatever it is, then that's going to make me a better person and more whole person to be able to do all those other 4 things.
Right.
So, that being said, those are the 5 things I think about a lot
Yeah.
and really get a kick at. But the first one, doing what you love, people say, what do you love about it? It's HVAC. How can that be exciting? There's so many changes in the industry and so many technical pieces to it. You just have to become a creative problem solver. I think that I am. I think my
Yeah.
team is. And we get a real kick at it being thrown into a mess of a building or a situation and being able to creatively put something together for that building owner or homeowner, down to and including financing the package as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's kind of what does it for me.
Yeah, it's great. It's, as I said, it's a lot more. It's not just heating, venting, and air conditioning anymore. There's a lot more technicalities to it.
Yep.
The technology has advanced tremendously. Building automation systems have advanced tremendously.
No doubt.
You can basically, from your iPhone or your smartphone.
That's a big part of the business.
Right,
these days.
it is.
Home automation.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit and what that means from an energy standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, and how Princeton Air might come into a household and basically assess the situation and say, listen, we need to put an automated system in here.
Yep, sure. Good questions. So there's thousands of different products out there now that are all under the umbrella of home automation.
Yeah.
And we figured let's align ourselves with a couple of them and get really good at those. So we became a Nest Pro dealer. Everybody knows the Nest
Absolutely.
product line.
Yeah.
So we got trained, certified, and we move a lot of Nest products. Mostly people are inquiring about them. They want the fancy doorbells. They want the thermostat. They want to get the automated report every month from Nest.
Right.
So when we get those calls, people are really, those are gadget people, and they really like to have the latest and the greatest.
Yeah.
They really, as interesting as this is, they really don't care that much about energy savings, which is, strange.
Interesting.
It's really the gadgetry and the lifestyle convenience that affords these people when they put these systems in place.
Yeah.
Built into that, there are efficiencies. Those systems are going to run. They'll go into setback mode. They've got these proximity sensors where the customer can be a mile from their home. Their system senses that, and it'll bring the temperature back up without them doing a thing. You can
Interesting.
enable and disable that.
Yeah.
On the technical side, the service side, we now get alerts from customers before they know there's a problem in their home.
Yeah.
We'll get alerts to a couple of people in our office, so we'll see, air is flowing, temperature is lower than what it should be. There's a problem with the combustion side of that
Wow.
boiler or that furnace.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of cool calling a customer and saying, we're seeing a problem on your home.
Oh, that's
They
great.
go, we're not feeling it. And, we're able to, impress them in those areas.
That's a technological advancement that 10 years ago probably wasn't there.
Yep,
Right?
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to have to take a quick break. By the way, we are sponsored by Hiram and Solomon. Great cigar, by the way.
Ooh.
We're going to have one
Okay,
together.
yeah.
But there's our sponsor. We will be right back after a message from Hiram and Solomon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Mark Iorio. This is Rainmakers Roundup, and I'm with the CEO and president of Princeton Air, Scott Needham. And we're just talking about automation systems in homes, Scott, that have really changed the way, the efficiency of a home, heating and air conditioning system. But it's more, you're saying it's more like a lifestyle than it is for people that really care about energy efficiency. That's an interesting observation. You would think that it would be, the bell curve would be on the other end of the spectrum, would you?
It's, we're always touting energy efficiency, and we think that moves the needles in consumers' minds.
Yeah.
But there's so many other non-energy benefits
Yeah.
that we have to have our staff constantly be aware of.
Right.
I'll give you one example. So we got into geothermal many, many years ago.
Yep.
Super high efficient systems. But this phenomenon took over that I call moral licensing. I can't tell you how many customers we put these super high efficiency systems in, and instead of set back and set up your thermostat setting, they'll raise it warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer and just leave it 24/7 like that. It's kind of like the concept of, if I'm eating a fat-free cookie,
Right.
I might have the whole bag now, right? It's crazy, but people change their thinking and their perceptions when you put these super high-end systems in.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. I mean, we're saving energy by putting these super efficiency systems in, but people could save a little more if they use them properly.
Yeah, yeah. I know you're involved in so many civic organizations, Rotary Club, the Princeton Corridor Rotary Club,
Yep.
The Princeton Mercer Regional Chamber of Commerce. You're on the board of a bank, right?
No, I was on the advisory
board
committee, and I've stepped off of that.
Stepped off that, okay.
I'm also on the workforce development board for the county of Mercer.
Okay, yep.
So what my role there, I also chair the advanced manufacturing committee for that group. And it's really just figuring out the employer's needs and the state of the workforce in the county of Mercer and how we can dovetail programs and other initiatives with some funding attached to it to get underserved or underemployed folks and unemployed folks into the workforce and handle the needs of the employers.
That's
so that's
great.
been a lot of fun working for that group.
Yeah, and you give back a lot. You're involved as an honorary commander in the
That's right.
in the Air Force, and you do a lot with veterans too.
Yeah.
Right.
Great story. Back to the people side of my business.
Yeah.
One of our guys who started as a helper in the installation department
Yeah.
has moved through the ranks, been with me about 11, 12 years now. He's a reservist.
Yep.
And he's been deployed 5 times.
Wow.
And we always hold his job open for him to come back. He does his 2-week stints a couple of times a year as well.
Yeah.
And he is now leading our service department. He's our service manager.
Wow.
So the people side of my business, I really enjoy seeing people move through the organization into different positions and supervisory roles and management roles. That gives me a personal kick.
Oh, I know.
People say, why do you continue to push? Why do you continue to grow? If we continue to grow, we will create opportunities for others in the company that didn't exist today.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
I get a kick out of that.
Yeah.
That gets me out of bed as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're a giver, so when you give to people, right? You're without looking for anything in return.
Right.
It does come back to you. And
I agree.
My next question was going to be, how do you find new business? I know it's a lot of networking, people just knowing the name, because Princeton Air has been around for 49
years.
49
Yeah,
years,
yeah.
right? So you're coming up on number 50.
Yep.
Next year.
Next
correct?
year's number 50.
Wow. Very impressive.
We've got to prep for that. Thank you for reminding me. We've got to put some thought into our 50-year
and you will. I know you'll do a great job, right?
Yeah.
Probably have something big. But how do you find new business? Do you have salespeople out there? I know you have a digital marketing campaign.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that.
So we have moved most, if not all, of our advertising off of newspaper and those print media, and it's mostly all digital. We still do a bit of TV. We're constantly redoing our website as well.
Yep.
And we spent a lot of time and energy, and we have monthly meetings with our digital folks on how we're doing in that area. I actually had to create an overhead position for someone to manage all those aspects of our company. So it made total sense to spend that kind of money to keep us at the forefront. So we do a lot of digital stuff. We've got word of mouth is big for us. We've been around for 49 years. Neighbors talking to friends, telling them to call us to, have us, invite us out to the home.
Yeah.
I have on the retail side or the residential side, I've got 4 retail comfort advisors, we call them. So as the leads come in, we get them in the system, and those guys run those calls.
Okay.
On the commercial side, it's still really old school. Picking up the phone, making cold calls, knocking on building doors, seeing who the vendor is today and seeing if we can provide a different solution.
Right.
It's amazing how old school that is and how it still continues to work.
Yeah. Bill Hogan would be very proud of you. Scott, you've been running it for 33 years, or involved for 33 years. Joe probably ran it, when you first got there. But talk a little bit about some of the missteps that you have encountered or made over that period of time, how you learn from that, how you do your best to not try to make those mistakes again. It's tough. I mean, you're an entrepreneur. A lot of times, I know you've got Joe sitting next to you in many respects, so you can bump some things off him. But you're there as an island sometimes.
Sure.
So talk about some of those missteps.
So we've made a few of them. There's no doubt about it. And I think we used to be very risk averse way back when. And when you have that posture, you're not going to grow as fast as you think you could because you don't have enough either money on the street or exploring different ideas and products and services. So I think when I joined, the one thing I noticed is we were doing a lot of builder work, track housing. That was all the rage back in the mid-'80s when I joined the company. Sure. And we were doing boatloads of work in that area. And we were making very thin margins and took you a long time to get paid. And I remember having a conversation, being new to the industry with my dad. I said, Dad, this doesn't look like a really good business model. And that comprised most of our revenue.
Wow.
And he was looking at me saying, you mean we throw that away? What planet are you on?
Exactly.
So we finally mapped out a roadmap for the future. And we eventually, like in 3 or 4 years, totally got rid of that business and got into the retail replacement and service business, both residentially and commercially. So that was one big thing that kind of stymied our growth in the early days. And when we went this new direction, we've really seen some rapid growth.
Yeah.
The other thing is, we got top heavy a couple of years back. We had this strategic plan. We had an accountability chart. We had a lot of people in 2 different seats on that chart. The accountability chart, in other words, is an org chart.
Yeah.
And we said, look, let's get these people in separate spots and let's really grow those areas. And we didn't pay enough attention to the revenue that needed to follow in that area.
Sure.
So we got top heavy and we had to peel that back real quickly. And that was painful.
It is tough.
And those are a couple of big lessons that I'll always be aware of. We don't let things get out of hand. And I remember my dad saying early on that most contractors in our space go out of business because they don't understand their costs. And with that hiccup a couple of years ago, that's a good reminder that you really have to be uber aware of your costs, especially in the overhead items.
Yeah. So with that said, if you were sitting next to a younger Scott Needham, right, what advice would you give him as he gets into the business and he's really running it? Would you change anything?
I would tell that person to be a better communicator about the vision that you're thinking about for the future instead of keeping it all up here. I was telling somebody last week, I feel like I live in a world that doesn't exist much of the day because I'm thinking about the organization 5 and 10 years out, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, what we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And I find the better I get to articulate that to everyone, they can kind of latch onto that and say, all right, I know how I can impact that vision And I didn't do that very well back then.
Right.
You know, and it didn't work very well. So
Yeah.
that would be the first thing I'd
Yeah.
tell them. Secondly is I'd tell that person, that young Scott, to not be the guy with all the answers. To, even though you might have the answer, vet it with the group and get input and let them own it and build it. And that took me a while to figure out, too.
That's great.
So
Yeah. So who inspires you?
that's an easy one. You know, it's my father. So I think about him. He was 34 years old,
Wow.
leaving a family trucking company
Okay.
that they just sold to Del Monte Foods back then. 6 children, all young, a house, a wife, and he decided to fully mortgage all of that to get, he did a lot of research on what business would be viable for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And in his discoveries, he found that everyone was going to have central air conditioning in their home in the next 20 years when they just had furnaces to heat.
Smart man.
Right?
Yeah.
So he saw that, jumped in, mortgaged the house, and then I think what put him over the edge is when he heard that those owners of those companies were making 20 grand a year, he was all in. So I look at a guy like that risked so many things, and to see where we are today, you know, he's my role model. He's
great.
my idol. He inspires me to continue to take what he's built, and like I'm the steward of this operation
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Who knows where it's going to go?
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to leave it in someone's good hands when I'm out of the business. Hopefully, it's my son Spencer.
Yeah.
He's got no real interest at this point, but nor did I at his age.
At his age, yeah. Well, congratulations on 49 years of success,
thank you.
and you working there for 33 years with
Yeah,
your dad.
it's been fun.
That's been pretty inspiring to a lot of us, and continued growth and success in your business. Why don't you tell everybody how to get in touch with you and Princeton Air?
So you can visit our website, www.princetonair.com, or our main telephone number, 609-799-3434. And you can find us on Facebook, on Yelp, on Bing, everywhere under the sun. Google My Business, everywhere.
Awesome. Scott, thanks.
Thanks, Mark. Pleasure.
You're welcome. Pleasure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap for Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. We will see you next Wednesday morning at 10:30. Enjoy the week and be safe, everyone.